In this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to use the new limited edition Mandala set to make a slightly more complex card than we have done in the previous videos. So this time again, we're going to be using the Mandala in here. And what I've got is, I've got a piece of Crafts 2 white linen card cut to 5 by 7 inches. And this will go onto a 5.5 inch by 7.5 inch card blank. And what I want to do is cut the pattern in relatively randomly. So once again, I'm going to use just the detail pattern. However, I'm only going to use the 2 pieces. And what I want to do is, I want the pattern to go off the page. So I'm going to roughly tape down the first page. As you can see here, I'm leaving it to allow it to go off the page. That then becomes a guide to let me put the second die in the set in. And then I can tape that down a little bit more substantially. And what we would do with that is simply run that through and cut it. Now this is quite a detailed die, and we're asking for quite a lot on here. So what I'm going to do is place this to the side of the machine, making sure the die doesn't stick out. And I'm going to add one of the metal shims on top so that I get a nice, clean, crisp cut. And what I want to do is to show you what happens when this cuts and what you actually get. But what else you need for this piece is, I've got a piece of random background paper, and this is just a scrap sort of mop-up sheet that I've made, but it works absolutely beautifully. It's got a mix of colours and pattern and things on there. And I've also taken another piece in the same sort of colours. These have all been made with the Eyes Ink sprays. But I've got another piece, again, that's just got those beautiful colours and patterns. It's got a little bit of the gold on there. But these are just sort of scrap pieces. So I'm going to take the piece we've just cut, and I'm going to gently peel off. And remember, with the Mandala, it's very delicate. It's attached. To get the detail, it has to be quite fine at these points. So you have to be careful with it. So we'll just take that off. We'll give our card a little flick. And what we would do is just make sure that we get all of the little pieces out before we cut the next stage. Now it's really important that you get all of the actual scrap pieces out, even if you feel that they're sort of stuck in there or that they'll be okay. If we don't remove these pieces when we're doing something like this, with what's relatively a clean and simple card, what can actually happen is the movement of the machine will push these pieces out, and then they can get stuck on top. So I'll just take one. If that goes through the machine, a pattern of that will get impressed into the card. And obviously we don't want that. So I'm just going to clean up all the little pieces on my mat, just to make sure that none of them are hanging around. And we're going to check the back. And what you can do is just take the glue eraser over the back, and that will take any scrap or hanging off pieces off. We'll pull those off without tearing the card at all. So we've got there a beautiful pattern in one corner, and all we then need to do is repeat that for the second corner. So again, I would put this on in a slightly different place. Perhaps we'll have this just going on that corner there. We'll match in the second piece again, matching up these points, and give that a good tape down. And again, that will go through the machine, making sure we get as close to the side as we can, and also popping our shim on. We'll put that together and we'll run that through. Now I've actually got a piece that I've already cut with this, just to show you a little bit easier how it's done. So I'm just going to clean out the last little piece there that's hanging around, and I'm going to take my glue eraser and just run this over the top, just to get any marks of the adhesive off, and also to make sure any little bits of fluff or anything from the actual die cutting plates is cleaned off. I find it really helpful to use one of the glue erasers to take these little bits off and make sure the piece is beautifully clean. So all we need to do now for the first stage is to glue this down. Now I'm going to use some spray glue, so I've brought in my spray box, and I just want to use a little bit of spray glue, as I find this is a lot quicker for things like this and gives you a beautiful adhesion. So we bring in the piece that we've cut to the same size, And we just match that up. And what I love about this is every time you do it, you get a slightly different random colours and pattern through there. Hopefully you can see there you've got beautiful different patterns. And again, you can just simply trim off anywhere where the card is overhanging, either using a pair of scissors or a guillotine. So if you wanted to leave it at this stage, we could just simply stamp a sentiment perhaps across there or one there. We could add some flowers, but what we're going to do is use the die in a slightly different way to add another level of detail onto here. So what I've got is this second piece that I had. So I'm just going to clean out the bits from this die. Clean these ones out. Again, just to make sure. And I'm going to take sure I just take any little pieces off my mats, so that I don't risk anything getting stuck in between. And what we want to do this time is we're going to cut a full mandala out from here. But I want to use the outside line this time. So I'm not going to go with the centre. I don't want that much detail from this cut. But I'm going to take the long piece of tape, match the points to the corners and pick up the middle die. I'm then going to put this into the centre of the detailed die. I'm then going to put this into the middle of the outside outline die. Tape that onto that card, and then we will run that through the die cutting machine. And when we've done that, this is what we'll get. So we'll get this beautiful piece here. And again, by using a random piece, we get lovely, beautiful patterns and mixtures of colours without having to plan it. What I would next do is to cut this again, but this time only using the centre die. And again, there's a separate outside line for this. So once again, I will pick up that piece, line that up with the outside cut line for it, and we will cut that. And I will also cut the centre panel and, once again, the outside line for that. So we'll put those two pieces together, just like that, and we'll cut those. And that will give us, and move those out of the way, this piece and this piece. So we've got beautiful 3 different pieces. They almost look like different dies, but again, they could stack on top of each other. And they're all cut from the same paper, but you can see you've got the variations in colour, or we can use them as we're going to. So what I'm going to do now is to just take this panel, again, the spray glue, and I'm simply going to give this a spray on the back, as it makes it a lot easier to stick down for the technique we're doing. If I can grab that out of the box. And now I'm going to fill in some of the blank spaces. So I'm going to match this across the top. Okay, let's go a little bit further. And I like that there. I'm going to turn this to the reverse and then use a pair of scissors on the back, or again, you could use a guillotine or paper trimmer, just to take off the spare pieces. So we don't want to waste those. So we take those off. I've then got another piece here that I could pop into that corner. You can see it gives us quite a lot of really nice depth. And again, turn it over and trim off the excess. So we've got that beautiful little piece there. I could then, if I wanted to, take the centre piece. We could put that on, or the other piece. So again, I'm just going to give these a spray with the spray glue. Again, because it makes it a lot easier to stick it down, and also, until it's actually adhered, it stays tacky. So we actually have a situation where the pieces that come off can be used. So perhaps we want to go into that corner there and just use a little piece. So let's get that straight. There we go. You could almost pattern build with this and build up some beautiful different effects. So I trim that down, so we've got a lovely piece going in that corner, and I think we'll have that one just in the centre there. So then we've got all that beautiful detailing running all the way around it, and all we then need to do is to take our card blank, when I remember where I've popped it, there we go. We can pop that on top, and there we've got our finished card. We could add a sentiment on or anything that we want to. And one of the other options we can do with this, we can use the stamp in the set. So I'm just going to peel off that section and make sure I remove any glue from it. I'm going to bring in my press to impress. So just pop my foam in place, because even though we have die cut this, we can still stamp onto it if we're using something like a stamp press, because if we miss an area we can go back. So I'm going to take one of the stamps from the set, and I think a sentiment would look better there. So I'm just going to pop that nice and straight in, pop that down, open it up, and these will match to try and give you a little bit of sort of comedic element to this. So just a little bit of a nice sentiment that's a little bit amusing. So I'm going to ink this in a grey colour because I don't have black anywhere else in the card. We're simply going to stamp that on, and there we go. At our age, we've seen it all, we've heard it all, we've done it all, we just don't remember it all. Yeah, that's very applicable for me. So we've got our sentiment on as well. And then simply foam mounted onto our card blank, and we're finished. So slightly more complex card, but again, one that you can do in a good sort of 20-25 minutes. Enjoy.